The deep dive begins now. Our mission today is, well, to really deep exploration into the heart of the renewed covenant. We're looking specifically at the Hebraic understanding of belief, action, and love. We want to find those foundational pillars that really define our relationship with the Creator.
Yeah, and it's definitely time to move beyond the abstract, don't you think? For, centuries, Western thought, the Hellenistic or Greek mindset has kind of built this wall. It separates the intellectual idea of belief from the physical reality of doing things, of deeds. We're aiming to tear that wall down today. Our goal is to uncover the concrete, functional, and really holistic truth that's rooted so deeply in the ancient Hebraic worldview.
Yeah, and to ground this whole conversation, we absolutely have to start with the ultimate theological truth, the one that anchors everything else we'll discuss, the absolute non-negotiable oneness of the Creator.
Precisely. That singularity, that oneness, it's a bedrock of Scripture. Yahweh is Echad. He is a singular, indivisible, unified being. If we miss this point, honestly, our whole understanding of redemption just crumbles. And the identity of Yahshua as the Messiah is so central to our redemption because he is the very visible manifestation of the invisible singular Yahweh. He's the tangible expression of the one true Eloah.
Okay, so our deep dive today is going to center on the integrated connection between three core concepts. First, Emunah, which we're defining as active trust. Second, Masim, our deeds or our works. And finally, Ahabah, that covenantal love. So here's the central question, the tension we're really unpacking for you, our listener. Just as Yahweh's ultimate deed, his incredible redemptive act, proved his Abba for us, how do our Masim, our deeds, serve as absolute proof of our Ahabah for him? That proof, that evidence, that's our focus.
We have to start with Emunah. And when we use this term, we need to immediately sort of push aside the common Western definition of faith as just intellectual agreement. That simple mental nod that says, yeah, I acknowledge that truth.
Right, that mental assent is the classic Hellenistic starting point, isn't it? Where faith is seen as this private thing, purely cerebral. Like if I believe the historical facts about the Messiah, then I'm considered faithful. But the Hebraic mind, the actual context of our scripture, it just doesn't allow for that kind of separation.
It simply doesn't exist in that framework. Emunah is it's a dynamic state of being. It signifies foundational trustworthiness, reliability, and crucially active commitment. It's what you act upon with unwavering conviction and fidelity. It's not static, it's functional, it's alive.
And that dynamic quality is literally built into the word itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right down to the root. Let's maybe look at the pictographic root for Emunah, which is Amen Aleph Mem Nun.
Yes. The visual root really illustrates this concept of firmness, stability, support. You've got Aleph, the ox head, symbolizing strength or leadership. Then Mem, often representing water, but here may be signifying stability or a firm foundation. And Nun, representing continuation, life. So when you put them together, they suggest something like a strong leader who continues firmly, or maybe a solid foundation that endures. It's solid.
So when you say amen at the end of a prayer or a statement, you're not just saying, oh, I agree. You're actually declaring, this is firm, this is reliable, I am standing on this truth, let it be so.
Yeah, right.
It's an agreement, yeah, but it's born out of conviction and profound trust, not just, casual consent.
Exactly. Therefore, having Emunah in Yahweh means actively trusting in his unchanging character, his unshakable dabar, his word and his covenantal promises. And the unavoidable consequence, the natural result of that deep trust is concrete obedience. It's aligning yourself with his ways. If your foundation is firm, your house, meaning your life, will show that stability in how it's built in your actions.
Okay, I understand the contrast, but here's where I think many modern believers get a bit tangled up, and it's a really crucial point for you, our listener. If Emunah inevitably results in obedience, how do we stop ourselves from just sliding back into legalism, where we focus on the external works as a way to earn favor, instead of focusing on the internal transformation that should be fueling them?
That is an excellent and really necessary question. The Hebraic answer, I think, avoids that earning trap altogether. Deeds don't earn salvation. They can't. Redemption is a gift, granted through the covenantal grace of Yahweh, and executed by our Goel, our Redeemer. Instead, the deeds, the Masim, they are the necessary and undeniable evidence they're the fruit of a transformed leb, a changed heart. If the Spirit has genuinely planted life inside you, well, life is going to sprout forth in action. If you claim to have life but there's absolute no fruit, the claim itself is, well, it's shown to be false.
And the Emunah that Yahshua praised, it was always visible, wasn't it? It always required some kind of action.
Think about the Roman centurion in Matthew chapter 8, verse 10. Yahshua declared his Emunah was unparalleled in all Israel. And the centurion's trust, it was demonstrated simply by his understanding of authority. He didn't even need Joshua to physically come to his house. He just knew Joshua's davar. His word alone was enough. That acknowledgement of power and authority, which led him to make a concrete request, that was his visible deed of trust.
Or think about the woman who pushed through that crowd just to touch the hem of Joshua's garment. That's in Matthew chapter 9, verses 20 to 22. Her profound, almost desperate trust drove her to a physical act, an act that risked public shame and, breaking ritual cleanliness laws. Her Emunah was palpable. You could almost feel it. It was visible, actively engaged, a deed that actually came before the miracle happened.
And this brings us right to the inseparable twin, Ma'asim. The master Jacob, or James, he puts this so clearly, doesn't he, in James chapter 2, verse 18. Emunah without Ma'asim is intrinsically dead, not just dormant, not waiting for a spark, it's devoid of life.
Mm-hmm. And the Hebrew scriptures, the Tanakh, they just confirm this integrated reality over and over again. Abraham's Emunah was proven, it was validated by his Ma'asim. His first big act of faith was leaving the comfort, the familiarity of Genesis chapter 12 for a land he'd never even seen. And then his ultimate act of faith, offering up Yitzchak, Isaac on the altar in Genesis chapter 22, that was the final confirmation, wasn't it? His actions sealed his covenantal trust.
Absolutely. And Moses' Emunah similarly propelled him into action. It drove him to confront Pharaoh and lead Israel out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, like we read in Exodus chapters 3 through 14. He risked absolutely everything because his foundational trust in Yahweh's promise was just that firm.
So the takeaway here is really vital, I think. The Hellenistic mind tends to compartmentalize belief and action, often even setting them against each other, as if somehow deeds diminish grace. But the Hebraic mind sees them as an integrated, indivisible whole. To truly know Yahweh isn't just intellectual, it's to live in an active, experiential relationship, which naturally expresses itself through consistent obedience and, demonstrable deeds. A mere claim of Emunah without the corresponding Ma'asim is, really by definition, a flat contradiction within that Hebraic worldview. Makes sense.
And this functional understanding of active trust, it leads us straight to the motivation behind the deeds. Ahabah, covenantal love.
Right. And when we talk about love in the context of Yahweh, we're immediately forced to set aside the modern, often, sentimentalized or romantic idea of love. Yahweh's love isn't some fleeting emotion. It's a profound commitment.
It is a steadfast, covenantal commitment. And it's expressed through two interconnected pillars. His unfailing kindness, which in Hebrew is chesed, hesed, and his faithfulness, which is emet. And both chesed and emet inherently demand action. Chesed is that loyal, tender mercy extended specifically to those he's in covenant with. Emet is fidelity, truth, reliability. It's what you can absolutely count on always.
So Yahweh's Ahabah becomes the paradigm, the ultimate example. He didn't just passively feel compassion for us from a distance. He acted in love. He proved it through costly, powerful, redemptive intervention and his constant provision for his people.
Just look at the sheer power in that declaration in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 1. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I called you by your name. You are mine. Wow. It's not a whisper of affection, is it? It's a roar of protective ownership and intervention born entirely out of his covenantal love. He initiates the reclaiming. He acts.
And the imagery in Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 17 is just breathtaking. Yahweh is mighty. He will save, and he rejoices over you with a joyful shout. It even says his silence in his love is an abiding devotion. This is such a proactive, joyous, redemptive Ahabah that defines his very being.
So, since that is the standard, Yahweh's love is action, then our love for him, and also for our neighbor, it must be a measurable, tangible response. Yaakon and John just cuts right through any attempt to keep love purely internal or just emotional.
Yeah, his challenge in 1 John chapter 3, verses 17 through 18 is pretty blunt, isn't it? But whoever has worldly possessions and sees his brother in need and shuts up his mercy from him, how is the love of Elohim in him? My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth.
It's a direct confrontation, really, with that Hellenistic tendency to prioritize words, rhetoric, over actual action. If we claim to embody the Creator's love, but then we refuse to translate that compassion into practical action when we see tangible need like, hunger, homelessness, loneliness, then that love we claim is proven fundamentally lacking. It's just a contradiction.
And that phrase, in deed and in truth, is so critical here. Let's dig back into truth again, because It's clearly more than just factual accuracy, right?
Oh, Emit is incredibly profound. Its pictographs, Aleph, Mem, Ta, they literally represent stability, firmness, reality from the beginning, right to the very end. It signifies this all-encompassing, unwavering integrity that should pervade everything. So when our love is expressed in deed and in Emit, it means our love has to be authentic, sincere, unwavering, and practically applied in a way that's consistent with Yahweh's own steadfast character. Our actions need to have integrity from A to Z, from beginning to end.
Which circles us right back to the core mandate. Our Ahabah for Yahweh is measured, fundamentally, by keeping his devar, his word, and his commandments. Obedience becomes the tangible output of love.
Precisely. Yahshua left absolutely no room for ambiguity on this in John chapter 14, verses 15 through 31. He that has my commandments and keeps them, it is that one who loves me. He connects love and obedience as one continuous action. Our devotion is proven by what we do. If we truly trust our Goel, the one who redeemed us, we will naturally seek to align our entire lives, our whole walk, with his instruction. This is Emunah, made visible through Masim, and it's all driven by Ahabah.
Okay, so the whole story of redemption hinges on this covenantal love translating into decisive action, which brings us then to the concept of the Goel, the kinsman redeemer. And you're saying this isn't some abstract spiritual title, it's a functional legal reality.
Yes, the Goel is truly one of the most powerful and concrete terms in the Tanakh. It's rooted so deeply in the ancient Hebraic legal system, the social structure, the family systems. The Goel was the blood relative who had a divinely ordained legal obligation, almost like a debt of relationship, to step in, to intervene, and redeem their family from any kind of distress or debt or danger that threatened their security, their life, their legacy, or their inheritance.
Wow. That sounds like a tremendous social burden, wasn't it? The Goel had to be willing to potentially sacrifice his own security, maybe even his wealth, just for the family's survival.
Absolutely. And we can break down the Paleo-Hebrew pictographic meaning of Gimel Aleph Lam Goel to really grasp that necessity for active intervention. We start with Gimel, which represents a foot or maybe a camel, signifying one who walks forth or intervenes. It's motion towards the crisis.
Active movement. Got it.
Then Aleph, the ox head, symbolizing strength, leader, or even Elohim. This represents the authority required for the task. And finally, Lamd, the shepherd's staff, signifying authority and control the means to actually enforce the redemption.
So the visual story is really clear. A strong leader who walks forth with authority to intervene. That explains why the term is so heavily action-oriented.
It's the ultimate picture of proactive defense, isn't it? And the responsibilities of the Goel were incredibly specific and, importantly, not spiritualized in their original context. The Goel was obligated to do several things. First, redeem property. He had to buy back ancestral land. Leviticus chapter 25, verses 25 through 34 tells us land the family might have been forced to sell due to poverty. This ensured the family's future inheritance wasn't lost forever. Second, redeem persons. He was required to purchase a kinsman out of slavery, freeing them from debt or bondage. That's in Leviticus chapter 25, verses 47 through 49. Third, avenge blood. He acted as the avenger of blood, executing justice for a murdered relative, which we see in Numbers chapter 35, verse 19. This defended the sanctity of life within the lineage. And fourth, raise up seed. In cases where a relative died without an heir, the Goel had the duty, sometimes obligation, to step in and marry the widow to perpetuate the family name. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 5 through 10 mentions this, and it's famously detailed in the book of Ruth, chapter 4.
Wow, that is a really comprehensive framework for intervention. If the Goel failed in any of these, the family could face, well, extinction or the loss of their inheritance. So to fulfill such a life-altering role, those three non-negotiable criteria had to be perfectly met, right?
Flawlessly, yes. Number one, the Goel must be kinsman, related by blood. No redemption is possible without that shared humanity, that legal relationship. You had to be family. Number two, the Goel must be willing. It had to be an act of really boundless covenantal Ahabah and sacrifice, because redemption was often incredibly costly. And number three, the Goel must be able. He had to possess the means, the resources, and the ultimate authority to actually pay the price and enforce the restoration.
So the profound leap of faith for ancient Israel, then, was applying this intensely local, family-centered title directly to the Creator himself.
It's stunning when you think about it. The Tanakh declares unequivocally that Yahweh is the Goel. Think about Ayub, Job, amidst the deepest possible suffering and loss, clinging to this absolute hope in Job chapter 19, verse 25. For I know my Redeemer Goel is living, and he shall rise on the earth at the last. I mean, He knew his deliverer wasn't just some spiritual entity, but a strong, authorized kinsman ready to act.
And Isaiah chapter 43 verse 1 just reinforces this identity. Yahweh declares himself the one who buys back, reclaims, restores. Yahweh is clearly not a distant, passive Elohim. He's the ultimate strong leader who actively intervenes right in the mess of human affairs.
And this functional role of the Goel, it forces us right back to that bedrock theological truth we started with. Yahweh is the Goel, and Yahweh is Echad. Echad, one. This demands an absolute unified understanding of the Messiah's identity.
Let's just revisit the oneness doctrine quickly, the Shema from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, singular, indivisible. And Isaiah chapter 45, verses 5 through 6, just eliminates any possible confusion. I am Yahweh, and there is none else. There is no Elohim beside me.
This is so critical. The Hebraic mind, focused intently on Echad, simply cannot accept the idea of Yahshua being a second or maybe a third person of a deity in some philosophical sense. That idea, frankly, smacks of the Hellenistic, even polytheistic traditions that the scriptures explicitly reject time and time again. Yahshua is Yahweh. He is the physical manifestation of the one Yahweh in the flesh.
Okay, but that is the essential challenge for the listener, isn't it? If Yahweh is invisible spirit, how does he manifest visibly as Yahshua without somehow creating two separate Elohim?
It's about expression, not division. Think of it like this. Yahshua is the tangible embodiment, the perfect image, the exact representation of the invisible Yahweh. Yahweh chose to become flesh, to literally tabernacle, to dwell among humanity in the person of Yahshua. Look at the visible manifestation proof right there in John chapter 14, verses 9 through 11. Yahshua says, the one seeing me has seen the Father.
He's unequivocally declaring, if you behold me, you are beholding the physical form of the one Yahweh. This isn't some partial view. It's the fullness.
And Colossians chapter 2, verse 9 summarizes this divine strategy perfectly. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Elohim head bodily. Every single ounce of the singular creator resided within the man Yahshua. All of it.
And beyond just the visible proof, he claimed the ultimate divine self-designation. I am.
Yes. His repeated use of I am, particularly in moments of, let's say, theological friction, like in John chapter 8, verse 24, is an absolutely unequivocal claim of divine identity. It directly references Yahweh's revelation to Moshe, I am that I am, back in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. He didn't say, oh, I am like him, or I am with him. He said, I am. And his listeners understood this perfectly, which is exactly why they so often wanted to stone him for blasphemy. He was claiming to be the self-existent one.
Even his very name, Yahshua, is itself a theological statement, meaning Yahweh is salvation.
It is a prophetic name, defining his entire mission. Matthew chapter 1, verse 21 confirms, he shall be called Yahshua, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now, who alone saves his people from sin? Only Yahweh does. Miriam clearly understood this when she declared in Luke chapter 1, verses 46 through 47, my spirit exalted in Elohim, my Messiah. The name itself proclaims that the singular Yahweh Echad comes in the flesh to save. Emmanuel Elo with us.
This leads us to, perhaps, the most profound truth concerning his role as the Goel, the nature of the sacrifice itself. If Yahweh is Echad and Yahshua is his bodily manifestation, then the blood that was shed must have been Yahweh's own blood.
That is the ultimate proof of his Ahabah. The profound truth is that the Creator himself had to pay the price because no created being, nothing he made, possessed blood worthy enough to redeem humanity. Acts chapter 20, verse 28 speaks of the assembly of Elohim, which he purchased with his own blood. It was Yahweh, manifest in flesh, who willingly humbled himself and shed his own lifeblood to fulfill the Goel's duty and reclaim his lost creation.
Wow, so this means Yahshua perfectly fulfilled those three non-negotiable criteria to be our kinsman Goel.
Flawlessly, yes. He became kinsman by being made like his brothers in all things, as Hebrews chapter 2, verse 17 says. He took on humanity so that kinship was established through blood. He was absolutely willing, propelled by boundless divine Ahabah, and he was supremely able, possessing all the authority and power of the one Echad Eloah to pay the infinite debt of sin.
So, his intervention on that execution stake was the ultimate deed of Ahabah. He fulfilled every single part of the Goel's job description, redeeming us from spiritual debt, avenging the spiritual death caused by sin, and restoring our lost inheritance in him. Yahweh didn't send some subordinate Goel. He maintained his title of Redeemer himself. He never changes, the same yesterday, today, and forever. The Eloah in flesh dwelt among his creation, Emmanuel.
His deed reflects his true and abiding Ahabah for us. He purchased us back from the dominion of the adversary, from eternal death, thereby fulfilling Isaiah chapter 43, verse 1. You are mine, he claimed us.
Okay, so we've established that Yahshua is Yahweh manifest, the one Goel who redeemed us through the ultimate deed of Ahabah. And that traditional distinction between internal belief and external performance is, well, it's entirely collapsed. So what does this integrated life actually demand of our daily walk? What does it look like?
It demands a unified, holistic life where these core concepts, Emunah, Masasim, Ahabah, intertwine seamlessly. Our Emunah has to be active, our Ahabah must be visible, and our life needs to be unified, integrated. The internal transformation planted by the spirit of our Goel must produce external Masim. There's no other way, really.
So our Emunah in Yahshua demands an active, wholehearted response that shows up, that's manifested through our daily Maasim. This is the practical application, isn't it? Bringing theology right down to earth. Our deeds must reflect alignment with his Devar, his word.
The real question isn't just, do you believe in Yahshua, but rather, are you active, Shama? Are you hearing and obeying his instructions? And this requires some deep introspection, looking honestly at our routine actions. If we claim to be redeemed by him, are our deeds genuinely demonstrating that we belong to him?
And this leads us straight to that critical connection to the character of Yahweh himself. We're called to be a Kodesh people, set apart whose lives distinctly reflect the character of our Elohim. And this means living a life marked by tzedek, which is righteousness, and mishpat, which is justice.
Yes, and tzedek and mishpat are intrinsically linked to deeds. They aren't abstract concepts. Tzedek means living in covenantal alignment, doing what is right in Yahweh's eyes according to his standards. Mishpat is the application of that righteousness. It's active justice, particularly towards the marginalized, the poor, our brethren in need. So how does this translate into modern masim? Well, it means ethical business dealings, refusing to engage in deceit, prioritizing the needs of the community over just personal excess, ensuring fairness in all our interactions. This is the practical, tangible overflow of the Emunah planted within us by our Goel.
And going back to the foundational instructions from our Goel, the specific acts of obedience, Samadim, he commanded become the public, the concrete evidence of our love for him.
Absolutely. So when we talk about keeping his Sabbath, we're talking about setting aside that set-apart time, not just because some rule demands it, but because it's a covenant sign, a sign of rest and renewal given by our Redeemer himself. It's a deed that proclaims, my trust is fully in Yahweh's provision, not just my own labor. That is an act of Emunah fueled by Ahabah.
And similarly, honoring his name is a masim of profound respect.
It's definitely not just about, uttering the name correctly, although that's important too. It's about living in such a way that brings esteem and dignity to the name of Yahweh, our Goel. Our conduct, our character, our word, everything must be consistent with the integrity of the one who saved us. If we live dishonorably, our deeds actually dishonor his name.
Okay, and making the Moedim the appointed times, how does that fit in as masim?
Those are tangible deeds of remembrance. They are his appointed times, his rehearsals. They're prophetic, yearly reminders of his entire redemptive plan right from Passover through to Sukkot. Participating in them is a physical, corporate demonstration of our active Emunah in his prophetic Devar, his word. We are actively showing that we are gathering with the other brethren whom he personally redeemed, building that crucial communal covenant relationship. These are all masim that prove our active Emunah and our Ahabah for him.
So the ultimate synthesis, it really lies back in the Shema, doesn't it? Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 5. The command to Shema, hear and obey, and to love Yahweh with all the leb, heart, all the soul, and all the might. It perfectly encompasses all three concepts. Active commitment, Emunah, physical demonstration, mahamin, and divine motivation, Ahabah.
That undivided commitment, that holistic walk, that is the signature of the redeemed. Every single act of Ahabah and obedience, every masim becomes a powerful, living testament to our vibrant Emunah and to the enduring, redemptive power of Yahweh, our Goel. Our deeds are the absolute proof that our will is aligned with his word.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive into the Hebraic understanding has really shifted our perspective, hasn't it? Moving us from just abstract belief to concrete reality. We can see so clearly now that faith must be active, love must be demonstrable, and our devotion is measured not just by our internal feelings, but by our masim, our tangible actions.
Yeah, the overarching truth is really this. Yahweh, our absolutely Akkad Elohim, fulfilled the role of the Goel perfectly through Yahshua. He intervened powerfully, personally, and sacrificially to reclaim us as his own. So our life, lived in active Emunah and demonstrable Ahabah, which means honoring his Devar, keeping his Sabbath, making his appointed times, gathering with his people, that is the only appropriate response to such profound covenantal redemption.
So we want to leave you, our listener, with this final, maybe provocative thought, something for you to actively mull over. Considering this Hebraic understanding of Emunah as active trustworthiness and Ahabah as expressed in Ma'asim, how might your daily walk more intentionally reflect the unified intervening nature of Yahweh, your Goel? In what concrete ways can you identify your Ma'asim, your actions in your business dealings, in your family life, within your community, genuinely demonstrating your Emunah and Abba in response to his ultimate redemption?
Hallelujah! Praise Yah for Yahweh our Goel who saves.